All right, we are close to the beginning, potentially, of the Aaron Rodgers era in New York. And, that was another hot topic last night. And when I actually go out in public and people want to ask me football questions, question one, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? That's all anyone wants to know. And the fact that the cat is this far out of the bag with the Jets, on the one-year anniversary of Rodgers telling us that, not us specifically because he doesn't talk to us, telling the world generally that he's going to stay with the Packers for 2022, we become aware of the extent to which the Jets have pulled out all the stops to get him. And I don't think you get to this point if he's going to stay in Green Bay. Like, if this Jets thing just doesn't work out, if they decide they don't want him, if he decides he doesn't want them, I don't think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. I think the Packers right now are kind of at that point where you've got a 4-point lead with 3 minutes left and you're just kind of holding your breath. You just kind of wait. Let's just run the clock out. We got the ball. We're up 4. Let's just not say anything. Let's not make any abrupt movements here. This plane is potentially going to land, no pun intended, with Aaron Rodgers gone. Let's just continue to let nature take its course. And I feel like that's where it is. Because if the Packers were committed to this guy, they would do what they did 2 years ago when the 49ers called the night before the draft and said, hey, any chance you want to trade Aaron Rodgers? And they laughed and hung up. 2 years later, they are far removed, Myles, from laugh and hang up phase.
Oh, no doubt. There's no doubt. And whether it would be, them sweetening up Aaron Rodgers' contract or, I don't know, more publicly coming out and saying, hey, we definitely want you for 2023 or whatever it would happen to be, privately, publicly, I don't know. Maybe they'd also go supplicate themselves here in Southern California at the feet.
We were drunk. I'm sorry we were drunk. That's what they'd have to say.
With what? I mean, I don't know. What do you mean? I'm sorry, we were drunk.
No, the Packers. I'm saying to try, to turn this around at this point. Give him more money, worship at the altar of Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, we were drunk for a week. But, some excuse to somehow put this toothpaste back in the toothpaste holder. As our good friend Jareen would say.
Jareen Williams,
it's too late. It's too late to turn this thing around.
Yeah, no, it totally is. But it's too late to turn things around for the Packers, but it's also too late to turn that jet around if you're Woody Johnson. You were already here, how are you going to go to Aaron Rodgers and be like, hey, you should come play for us and This is a getting to know you meeting, whatever the hell that means, when, you're recruiting basically this quarterback who may or may not want to play for you. What happens to the Jets if they don't land, and pun intended there, Aaron Rodgers, right? If they don't get Rodgers, what are they going to do? You don't have plan B anymore. Derek Carr's gone now. Yeah, he's with New Orleans. Are you going to go sign Jimmy Garoppolo? That's not a great plan C. Do we turn our faces back to Zach Wilson? Is Mike White, are we going to be blinded by Mike White again? I don't know. So like you said, the cat's out of the bag here. You either got to land Aaron Rodgers or it's going to be ugly.
I forgot about blinded by Mike White. Again, every time I have a moment like that now, I wonder whether it's the beginning of the inevitable decline. I forgot about blinded by Mike White. We went from the guy that blinded everyone to the guy who intentionally blinded himself to come up with his decision on his future. How you like that one? So, here's the danger. And I've said this all week long. The Jets are surrendering all power to Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
They are giving him, as a practical matter, the keys and the authority to do whatever he wants. Oh, Aaron, don't want to show up for the offseason program? I can envision it now. The Jets brass, when they're lined up in a row for the introductory Aaron Rodgers press conference, all saying, full-throated, we don't want him at the offseason program. This guy doesn't need to be at the offseason program. He's Aaron Rodgers. As long as he walks through the door. But I'm saying they're got to say everything that he wants, whatever he wants, they're going to be on board with it. And you're right, when you send coach, GM, offensive coordinator, owner, and I was told yesterday, owner's brother Christopher, who was the owner while Woody was the ambassador to the UK, team president. They sent everyone to go kiss Aaron Rodgers' ass. That's what that was. This isn't some, oh, we're going to send all these different people because we want 7 sets of eyeballs and 7 pairs of ears to study whether or not we want this guy. No, they crossed that bridge already. This is convincing Aaron Rodgers that he should want them. Because if it's the other way around, and I remember making this point when the Broncos went to see Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor and not the other way around. When you go to the guy, you're trying to convince the guy to come work for you. When the guy comes to you, the guy's trying to convince you to give him the job. They went to Aaron Rodgers. They went to bow at his altar, as we said earlier. They went to kiss his feet and his ring and his ass. That's what, and so they've already said, here, you take over. You do whatever you can do to try to turn this perennial also-ran into a contender. They've already written the check. The question is he going to cash it?
Exactly. And look, I mean, you know, I understand why they would do whatever Aaron Rodgers wants to bring in Aaron Rodgers, whether it's saying, hey, man, don't show up to the offseason program. You know Nathaniel Hackett. You know the offense. You know this. You know that. But we all know that it matters what you do in April and what you do in May and what you do in June, because the Kansas City Chiefs just won the freaking Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill because Patrick Mahomes brought all those dudes together in the offseason and got him comfortable with him. So I just, you know, and the thing didn't happen with Aaron Rodgers last year in Green Bay. So we understand how important the offseason program can be. And especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to a new team for the first time in his career, and he's going with these young receivers who are talented, right? You've got dudes there. You want him with Garrett Wilson in the offseason. You want him with Corey Davis in the offseason. Get these guys all on the same page and get them all ready. So I feel like if Aaron Rodgers is going to really want to do this, he should be all in, right? I mean, be Tom Brady in 2020, where there were COVID restrictions, and he was still going to high school fields and throwing with these dudes so they could get on the same page. Now, it took them a little bit longer to really get going because they didn't get going until November, really offensively. But at the same time, when you are the quarterback and you are the lead dog, you need to take that lead dog position. And if Aaron Rodgers is going to do this, that's what I would like to see from him.
I was reminded when you said that. Remember the weird story from 3 years ago? Was it Byron Leftwich with a bag of balls wandering around some guy's house? He went to the wrong house because he was getting together with Tom Brady. And it was clearly a violation of the rules regarding the off-season interaction allowed between coach and player. And they were going to go out in the backyard and they were going to have a catch. I mean, he had a bag of footballs with him when he walked into the wrong place. And nothing ever comes of that. You know, something comes of it if the league wants it to, and the league rarely wants it to. And it's Tom Brady. They weren't going to give the Bucs a hard time. It was the top story of the 2020 season, and it worked. But you're right. He's got an obligation to be all in. Even if the Jets say you don't need to show up for the offseason program, he needs to say, I want to be there. I have to get to know everyone. See, that's the one thing that I'll believe it when it happens. And you know, ESPN is putting out the word that the Jets have optimism. Well, I'd like to think they have optimism. They've started this dance. The question is, when the music stops, will Aaron Rodgers be dancing with the Jets? And from his perspective, when he's played for one team his entire career, and when he says, I want Randall Cobb back, I want Mercedes Lewis back, I want David Bakhtiari back, that is a manifestation of, at a core level, he likes things to be the same. He likes things to be familiar. He likes things to be comfortable. And you take yourself out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you drop yourself into new freaking York City, New Jersey, with a new team, new players. And the one commonality, obviously, is Nathaniel Hackett, so that helps a little bit, but that's one dude. Everybody else, unless they're going to sign Randall Cobb, and they probably will, I assume that Cobby is going to be wearing a green helmet, not a green jersey. Well, still a green jersey, but you get my point. Playing for the Jets in 2023. I mean, they're going to give him whatever the hell he wants to make him comfortable. That's part of this dance. They've decided to sell their soul to the Prince of Deliberate Darkness. And we're going to find out what happens. And I'm not complaining, Myles, because for our purposes, it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just content, baby. And you know what's funny, Mike? People talk about, the media market and it's different and it's this and it's that and it's New York versus Green Bay. The real difference there is not just the media, right? Because we've been talking about Aaron Rodgers nationally, especially you, for years and years and years and years, right? The real difference is going to be the beat reporters. Because the beat core for the New York Jets is different than the beat core in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I don't mean that in a negative way toward either one of them. It just is different. And so that's where you might see a little bit of difference. Because, look, New York is different just from like who is there, how these personalities work. Who is covering you on a day-to-day basis? How many people are in the locker? How do you have to do a podium versus just, standing at your locker in Green Bay and having everybody crowd around you? And it's still uncomfortable, but it's different than what you do as a quarterback of the New York Jets. So I think that is also a part of it here where we're talking about what are all the differences and what's the same and what's not and what's this and what's that. There's just a lot of difference going from the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers to then going to the quarterback of the New York Jets, where the expectations are going to be sky high. And frankly, they probably should be when you have a quarterback who we know is as talented as Aaron Rodgers is and can still get it done, at least from what we saw in certain situations.
It's 2008 all over again. At some point, it would be wise for Aaron Rodgers to deviate from the Brett Favre career track, especially once he arrives in New York, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
But
yes,
he is on the Brett Favre career path. And what were the expectations when Favre went to the Jets? We didn't have nearly as much time to build up expectations and hope. It happened so suddenly. Right. Brett Favre decides when training camp opens, I'm coming back. And it was Buccaneers or the Jets, and then it happens. And, the rest of the league is ramping up for the season, and it just kind of got thrown in with everything else. This is going to be, if it happens soon, months of buildup, months of discussion. And to your point about the difference between the press corps, and look, this isn't a Green Bay thing. Most teams are like the Green Bay media, where they're not going to ask the tough questions. You can't, because that one question that you asked that may have created a soundbite that plays on ESPN for, 6 hours, the cost for that is you become the person that they don't want to give people to. They don't want to give you access. They get to a point where they don't want to even give you a credential. You can't stand out as being an agitator when you're somebody who is following the team around everywhere, whether you work for the Packers directly or not. Because if they don't like you, you can't do your job, or it's so much harder to do your job if they just don't like you. So you go to New York and all bets are off. And Myles, I guarantee you that members of the press corps that cover the Jets are pouring through every appearance that Aaron Rodgers has had with Pat McAfee for anything they can ask him, up to and including, do you really believe shooting down the UFOs were a distraction from, what was it, the Jeffrey Epstein client list? I mean, some of this crazy-ass stuff that he's been throwing out there, he's going to get asked about it. And he's definitely going to get asked about his belief that Big Pharma, including Johnson & Johnson, sponsors sports media so that they can tell the people speaking into the microphones and typing into their computers to vilify Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be working for Johnson & Johnson heir Woody Johnson. That's not just going to be glossed over in New York. If it happened anywhere else, it would be. In New York, he's getting asked that question. And I hope he is ready for what's coming. And maybe he is. Maybe he relishes that. I mean, he's taken that heel turn recently. Maybe this is it. Bring it on. Bring it on. I want this. I want to do battle with these reporters. I want to be that guy because, until he starts playing, and until he starts playing poorly, if that even happens, the Jets fans are going to line up behind him. They're going to have his back. How dare you ask those questions of our new hero, of our savior, until he isn't their savior. Then it's all going to turn very sharply. But until we get to that point, he's got an army now of Jets fans that will get mad. It'll be 2 and on 2.0. They will be behind him completely and entirely throughout the offseason and until they get to the point where they decide he isn't the guy that they thought they were going to be, that they thought he was going to be.
I would say this in fairness to the Green Bay press corps, right? When we got faced with the whole Aaron Rodgers lied about being vaccinated versus not being vaccinated and the whole I've been immunized BS that he put out there last year, they were pretty tough on him in that subsequent press conference. And so that's kind of how we got some of the stuff that we got because they're the ones that are in the room with him where there's this unvaccinated person in a room full of vaccinated people and he's supposed to be vaccinated. So there is the difference between kind of tough but fair and then adversarial. And I think that's kind of where it crosses things and makes it different.
Yeah, and look, that whole thing that he pulled on the Green Bay reporters was a crock of you-know-what. I said it enough times yesterday. I'm not going to say it yet again today.
Okay.
But my point is, to do the job effectively, you can't agitate. You can't be adversarial, except when it's absolutely necessary. In New York, they're going to be adversarial. They're going to be combative. They're going to be different than they would be anywhere else. We know that. That's part of being in that market. And no matter who shows up for the press conferences, you're going to be on the back page. They're going to have coverage in every publication. It's going to be on WFAN. He's going to be scrutinized. He's going to be criticized. And he's going to have to be ready for it. Matt Casey makes a good point. Matt Casey, a lifelong Jets fan, who in his lifetime has not seen the Jets play in a Super Bowl, much less win one. What percentage of Rodgers' interest in the Jets comes from the fact that if he wins a Super Bowl with a lowly Jets franchise, it burnishes his legacy in a way that nothing else would? Winning another Super Bowl with the Packers wouldn't do it. And you know what? If he doesn't win a Super Bowl with the Jets, see, this is why I think he didn't want to go to the 49ers. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl with the 49ers, he's a failure. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl with the Jets, what do we say? Well, it was something other than him. Like Brett Favre didn't even make it to the playoffs with the Jets in 1 year. So it's kind of like a no-lose spot for Rodgers. And there's a huge upside. If you do win a Super Bowl with the Jets, you are conquering hero. You have done something that not even Tom Brady had done. You've turned a lowly franchise into a champion. And, at this point, he's not going to get anywhere close to 7. So maybe this is the next best thing. Try to get number 2 with a team that has been suffering for more than 50 years to try to just get back to the Super Bowl and then try to win one.
Yeah, well, I would kind of call the Buccaneers a lowly franchise, but I guess they had won a Super Bowl in 2002
they had one,
with John Gruden. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I understand what it is that you're saying here. But yeah, it is different when you're talking about the New York Jets and all that franchise means, especially to that metropolitan area, and what it would be for him to win that Super Bowl. Yeah, I think it would be different than just winning a second one with the Green Bay Packers.
And the Buccaneers were a team where when Brady picked them, it's like, they're set up. This is it. They're ready to go. With the Jets, it feels like they're pointing in the right direction. Yeah, no, look how good they were with Jameis Winston. They were 7-9 with Jameis Winston throwing 30-plus interceptions. So the idea was you're bringing a quarterback that takes a little bit better care of the football, and the sky's the limit, and it was. But the Jets are they're kind of under the radar, lining everything up. They were a contender last year until it all fell apart. And maybe Rodgers is the difference maker. Now, one last thing before we take a break, because I know this has already been addressed by Joe Namath, letting Aaron Rodgers wear number 12. And it's easy for me to say it because I'm not the one that has to wear a different number than 12. But I'm not a big fan of this temporary license to wear the jersey of a legend who has retired. At least Joe Namath is alive to say, go ahead and do it. But I said this with J.J. Watt. I said it with Peyton Manning when they got permission for him to wear number 18, which had been retired for Frank Tripucka in Denver. I don't like that. I think the magnanimous thing to do for the player is to pick a different number Do you really think, after everything else they're doing to get Aaron Rodgers to pick the Jets, do you really think they're not going to issue number 12? Even if Joe Namath said no, I think they're issuing number 12 to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be Aaron Rodgers wearing number 12 as opposed to like 15 or something.
Yeah. But again, and this is not, oh, you just hate Aaron Rodgers. I've said it about him. I said it about J.J. Watt. I said it about Peyton Manning. I'll say it about anybody. When there was talk last year of Russell Wilson 2 years ago going to the Bears, and it was like, are they going to give him Bronco Nagurski's number? I think it was Bronco Nagurski. Now, you just, there's a certain point where you just have to say, it's just a number. It's part of the effort to dehumanize players. I am my name. I am not my number. Don't let the thing they use to make me not human become so much of my identity that I can't put a different number. The number is ultimately meaningless. It really is. It really is. But it becomes meaningful because it becomes attached to the play. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.